Jess, thank you very much for coming to join us in our little media area.
Not at all, thanks for having me.
Jason, if I need to remind anybody of stage one here.
Yes, it's very present, isn't it?
It's great music, just not necessarily not necessarily when you need it. You can do a couple of songs for us. Where are we going to start?
I'm going to start with a song called High Enough, which is on our first album, Youngest Daughter, which came out a few months ago. This one is a song about lockdown. It is my only one, so I think I'm allowed, but it is the only one.
Does it mention the R number at all?
Sorry?
Does it mention the R number?
No, it doesn't.
No,
It doesn't mention anything at all about diseases. It just mentions nice things that I was doing at the time. I was trying to focus on the positives, of which there were a very small number.
Folk song focusing on the positive is good enough on its own, quite frankly, for me.
Exactly. Okay. It's called High Enough. All of those years you were high half the time. All of those tears, some were yours, lots were mine. And everything yelled down the phone late at night, and every fight, all of it's ours. And we put it all right, and all of this time, all of these days that we are wasting, waiting around. You know I don't mind, 'cause you got me high enough now. We're all staying in, you and me and the cat. You dyed your hair pink and I wear a t-shirt to match. I'm learning to paint, you're learning to build. I'm practicing baking and playing the flute and missing our friends and counting our luck and thanking my stars that I ever found you. And all of this time, all of these days that we are wasting, waiting around. You know I don't mind, 'cause you got me high enough now. We're getting into gardening, now the weather's not as cold. I planted a fuchsias and a rose and marigolds, and everything grows. It's only that some things we just grow old, like you and I, love. We can't get any younger, but we can get fat and we can get drunk. And all of this time, all of these days that we are wasting, waiting around. You know I don't mind, 'cause you got me. All of this time, all of these days that we are wasting, waiting around. You know I don't mind, 'cause you got me high enough now.
It's a kind of a lockdown love song, really, isn't it?
It is literally a love song about lockdown, which I think might be the most obnoxious possible content for a song. But yeah, it is.
And how is the baking now?
How is the what?
The baking.
The baking?
Yeah.
You know, I'm a pretty enthusiastic baker, so I didn't start in too negative a place. I mean, the baking is responsible for the line about getting fat, of course, but you had to have something to do, didn't you?
I know. I put on a stone and ruined my eyesight, basically, during the course of
Didn't we all?
with all those Zoom calls. Yeah, I think so.
So much screen time. I know. It's always funny because whenever I play it now, that line about baking or getting drunk and getting fat, everyone was like, oh my God, that was me too. And I'm like, I think it was all of us. I think that's what we all did.
Now, you're Jess Guise.
I am.
The band is Guise.
Yeah.
But you're here on your own.
I'm here on my own. It's Guise kind of because quite a lot of the time I am on my own because the band and we all met in the theatre, so they all still work in theatre. So quite a lot of the time they're not around, whereas I've decided to go and do this the whole time. So it's always Guise, regardless of who's there. But yeah, in a dream world, there's 4 of us. There's Laura and Titus and Keith as well. But they're all over the shop at the moment. So
what were you doing in the theatre?
I was an actor. Yeah.
In what? What sort of acting?
I was in lots of things, the theatre mostly, but I was on, the last thing I was in before I kind of quit was The Great Gatsby. I was in for quite a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, so that was 10 years of my life. Laura's still an actor, Titus is a director, Keith is a professional drummer, so he's a different beast. But yeah, it means we're quite... Because the problem is when you're in a show 6 days a week, you can't really do gigs, so eventually I had to make a decision, you know?
And what was the catalyst for that?
I just really wanted to do this, and I had done for ages, but it's really, really scary. So I think I slowly developed the confidence to admit to people that I wanted to do it. And my husband is a touring musician, and he was very encouraging and was like, look, come on tour with me. And so I did. And yeah, I haven't really looked back. I don't regret it. I don't miss it at all, actually, because as long as you still get to perform and connect with people.
I think there is that thing, isn't it? You know, if you miss, it's like, I've spent spells away from the radio and you just miss it. You know, it's a performance thing, and you just want to get back out there and perform again in whatever way that happens to be.
And I think this is, for me, I find songwriting and performing as a songwriter much scarier because there's no script to hide behind. There's no other people's words that you're saying. So you're very, very vulnerable. But it's about the connection, I think, being a performer. I'm sure you feel the same. Like, it's about connecting with other people, and I've not really found anything that connects with other people quite as potently as this, you know.
And are you a chatter between the songs?
Unfortunately,
when you,
so yeah, arguably too much.
Yeah, I thought you might. Well, I don't know. I just was wondering. It was not really for me to say.
No, I was raised in the folk world, you know, and people love a story and they love a bit of a natter, and I'm just a chatty person. I'd admire people that can just stand there in silence and tune their guitar. I can't do it. I have this anxious energy that has to fill the silence. So.
It's like silence on the radio. It's the same thing. It's like when 2 seconds in your mind, it's 10. You know.
I'm sure it's worse on the radio. Yeah, definitely.
Going on. Yeah. I noticed, and I'm assuming it's deliberate styling. You describe yourself, at least on your Bandcamp entry, as being a pop folk singer. Now, how do you... we get quite a few who are alt folk singers, how do you...
I tend to write quite poppy choruses, or sometimes do, and I guess I never felt... I adore purist folk. That's what I listen to, and it's what I wish came out of me, but it's not. The things that come out when I write tend to be a little bit more... poppy one way or another. I'm not sure. It's very... I hate categorizing music. Like, I hate it. I find it really hard. But I didn't feel like I could quite call it pop folk. And to be honest with you, I've got absolutely no idea what alt folk means. So,
it reminds me of a Bob Monkhouse joke about alternative comedy, and which his response was, alternative comedy is surely something which isn't funny.
Well, sure. I mean, an alternative to what, I guess? Like, I'm not really sure what I'm not doing it as an alternative. It's just what happens. So it felt like the right thing for us. But honestly, I wouldn't... You know, it's not a hill I'm keen to die on. I don't mind what people want to call the music.
So you left the theatre and set out on the road, as it were.
Yeah.
And you've done pretty well because you've done support for a number. You've done support for a number of artists. Frank Turner, for example.
Well, Frank Turner's my husband, so
that explains
cheating.
a lot.
Yeah, that really helps. He's the person that
then I probably would have seen you in one of Frank's sort of online things.
Well, you would have if you watched them all. I was there every day. Yeah, definitely. So every Thursday we kind of did it together as like a little. It was honestly, for some weeks, it was the only way we knew what day of the week it was. It was Thursday. We had a live stream, and it was great. But and I supported. I didn't do everyone, but there was nobody else who could because no one was allowed in the house.
I watched one which was... It was supposedly a Cambridge gig for the Portland Arms. That was the one which...
The Junction, was it?
No, well, it was just from the house. You did it from your house.
Sorry, I can't...
Sorry, you did it from the house.
Right, okay. So you didn't leave your house. No, of course. No.
I didn't leave my house. You didn't leave yours either. It was there streaming away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was lovely. I mean, it was... It was an odd time. So that song that I just wrote is about Frank and is about that time when we were locked down together. But those live streams were really helpful for me in some ways, in that I found that, so it was quite terrifying going into someone's world where he has such a sort of pre-existing fan base. But it's fortunate he happens to have the friendliest, warmest, and most supportive fan base in the world, as far as I'm concerned. They were very, very welcoming. So that was, in some ways, a really big boost.
And he's been here a few times too, so
he's been here.
Will have presumably told you exactly what's going to happen.
Sorry, I can't.
He would have told you. We're competing with the stage, aren't we?
Yes, we are very much competing with some very extraordinary, I think.
It's good. It's just a little bit too loud for our liking. So he would have given you some, this is going to happen. You're going to go and see Cambridge 105 Radio. You're going to be drowned out by the stage next door, and it's all going to be great.
Yeah.
Do you think we can manage one more song in competition with our neighbours here?
So I'm rather ambitiously doing quite an intimate one, which with the trumpets behind me could be interesting.
We'll
but
see
you
how
won't
it
hear
goes.
the trumpets, right? So it's okay. This is a song I wrote about my dad and my big brother. My lovely dad taught me to play the guitar, and he passed away very suddenly when I was 18 years old. And I wrote this song about that and about going through that with my brother. It references Dire Straits, and it's called Brother in Arms, which is not quite the same name as the Dire Straits songs, Brothers in Arms, so it is a direct reference for any Dire Straits fans out there. It's a conscious reference, I promise. Yeah, it's called Brother in Arms. He was born in different days, before Bob or Dire Straits or the songs that he taught us. Life of usual complaints, little losses, little gains, eldest son, youngest daughter. But a heart can grow old like that. Yes, a heart can grow old like that. We were never much the same. You were wise and I was vain, I was words, you were numbers. Little sister, big brother, little need of each other, till the ground came from under us. But don't we all grow up like that? Yes, don't we all grow up like that? He was one of the wonderfuls. He was an old dying breed, and I stood on his shoulders when I was too small to see. And the burden we felt since then, the burden that you share with me, to be born of the best of men, to be an old dying breed. Packed your bags and took your pain to the north into the rain. Fewer strings, fewer people. And with your hatches battened down, you defend your fading town from the waves with a seawall. Oh, just don't grow old like that. Oh, just don't grow old like that. You are one of the wonderfuls. You are an old dying breed, and I stand on your shoulders when I feel too small to see, and the burden we felt since then, the burden that you share with me, to be born of the best of men, to be an old dying breed, to be an old dying breed. It's not a race, but we are against time. I know you think that you're sure of that, so have some of mine, 'cause I don't want it all just to keep to myself. What's the point of a love you don't give someone else? And we don't want children, 'cause we both were a child. We know all too well how our childhood died. And we don't want the world, and we don't want to whine. But what is it you do want, brother of mine? 'Cause I don't care what you decide. It only matters that we try. Throw the fight if you want to. I've got you, I'm on your side. And we could always start again. Pick up the pieces just like him. Sink or swim, we can't disappoint him. My brother in arms, we won't grow old like that. My brother in arms, we won't grow old like that. My brother in arms, we won't grow old like that. My brother in arms, we won't grow old like that.
Yes, guys, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I mean, I couldn't hear a thing, but
It sounded great through my headphones, at least.